Okay, what we're going to do today is a double whammy video tutorial. Basically, I'm going to try and do two effects in one to show you how to do a nice, interesting combination. Been asked to do some kind of work about photographs. This is basically the plain background, and what I'm going to do is to show you how to do a little neat effect that you can see quite a lot of, but it's quite hard to achieve if you think about how to get the quality that you're looking for. This is the end result. Basically, I'm going to give the impression of some torn paper and some relatively realistic looking shadows. I'll tell you now to start with, the shadows are not that hard to do, okay? Unless there's quite a few layers here, and I'll build them up and show you how to do them. The problem being the torn paper. I'll zoom in quickly. What you have to do is to realise when you see torn paper, it has lots of frilly edgy bits, okay? This is something that a lot of people forget about or don't consider doing, but there is a simple, easy way of doing it. It's not perfect, this version, but it's a little bit better than just having a ragged edge, okay? So basically I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm going to go to a new palette, basically an empty page. I'm going to find my picture. Some pictures folder. Dimples, there we go. Open it. There we go, that's my picture. What I'm going to do is select all, copy, close, paste it into my area that I need, enlarge it to the size I roughly want, which is about there. Okay, that's my picture. If I need to, I can just sharpen this just to give it a little bit of strength, because notice when you enlarge it, it kind of blurs slightly. Okay, now you notice we've got to keep everything on layers. Okay, and we're going to be using this palette as well, the path palette. Okay, just going to zoom in a little bit to the area that I want to affect. Okay, and now using my pen tool, say for instance I want to do a rip across here. All I'm going to do is just randomly click, give an impression of what torn paper looks like. I'm not doing every element the same distance or the same size, I'm just being very random. Let's see. So just building it up slowly across. Obviously the tear can either be on a curve or it can be a straight line, it doesn't really matter. For this process I'm just going to make it as straight as possible. Just generally build it up. The reason I'm using a path instead of a marquee is so we can actually save this and actually re-manipulate it later. Once I've gone past the point of the picture, I'll just close the path up. Now you see a kind of a ragged, rough rip. You'll notice it's in my path as a working path, so I'm just going to name that tear 1, like so. What we can do now is down here, there's a little centre icon. It allows you to create that into a marquee, but we also still retain the path. Okay, I can go back to my layers. You notice I've still got my photo selected. So all I'm going to do now is go to this option, this icon, move tool, and press V if you want to. You'll notice you get scissors appearing when you go over the actual marquee. What that's going to do is allow me to tear that piece of picture away. Okay, so I'm going to move it to roughly where I want to place it. Say there. And now, holding down my Apple T, I'm literally going to rotate it a little bit, just to give the impression it's been torn and pulled away and thrown to the side, like so. So now we have the tear. What we've got to do is build up the whole effect of the rip, the paper effect on the edge. Most pictures though, before they get torn, have a border around them. Okay, what we're going to do is manipulate this border a little bit to create the teared paper as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is simply go to stroke, make sure I've got a white border. We could make it a little bit ochre, or get a little bit of yellow in it if you wanted to make it look more like real paper, but just for the purpose of this exercise I'm going to do pure white. Okay, make sure it's quite a thick border on the outside, like so. What happens is you get this appearing. Okay, Seems okay. Okay, you could actually use this as the effect of the torn paper as well. Okay, problem is, if I zoom in, torn paper doesn't literally create a simple copy of the original tear, which is what this is doing. It has its own distinct pattern. Okay, so we don't want to do this. Okay, what we've got to do is make our own new tear. Alright, so the way we do this, go back to paths and the brush and then the pen tool. What I'm going to do now is literally click on the elements of the frame. So I'm just literally going to make a new tear here. Make sure you don't do that. It's got to be straight clicks, not curved ones. Okay. So try and be careful just to click and not drag at the same time. So just be as random as you can. Doesn't matter if you go inside the original white one either. Okay. So what we're going to do is this. Once I get here, I'm just going to literally go back up the path, making sure I keep inside the white zone, like so. Alright, got a new path, just going to call it Tear 2. Okay, if I just select this again, fill it with white, like so. Oops. Back to layers. Okay, what we have now, yeah, is this. You also notice the problem we have with using this outline stroke, as it does this to the edge, and you obviously want a straight fill there. Okay, just get rid of that. Make sure it's a block. Just get rid of that 1 pixel. See, this is how pictures are. They have very solid straight edges. Okay, obviously it's going to be on this corner as well. Doesn't take much to fill them in, but it's a bit annoying that they haven't figured a way of making it so it does that. You can do it on the inside, which makes it square, but you lose some of your picture and you may want to retain all of your pictures format. So what you have to do is be careful to choose the right way of creating the border. Okay, so we've got our picture all set up, like so. What we've got to do, notice that one's at an angle now. So what we have to do here is we have to actually make a marquee effect to create the corner and just fill it with white. Let's say we've got the corner back. Okay, so we've done this. You notice we've done 1 tear on this part, we haven't done the same effect on this other side of the tear. So what we've got to do now is just get a pen tool again, create the abstract tear this side as well to make it different from the original one. And so you can find lots of brushes on the internet and even torn paper in vector form or whatever. One thing you find though is that they all have this, it looks like paper, but it doesn't have that same fuzzy, grainy fibre effect that I've tried to show you before. It just has solid edges like you can see on the one we're doing at the moment. And you don't really want to have solid edges, you want to have that kind of more natural paper look. So I've been practicing with this, and it does give a kind of little bit of a better effect. Okay, so we're going to do that one, tear 3, let's say, make it into a marquee, fill it, okay, so we've got new path, deselect. So what we've got is this, and as I said before, you'll notice you have this effect where it's just like ragged edges, and you don't want that, you want it more like real paper. Okay, so the next process we have to do is we're going to duplicate this layer. Okay, I'm going to use my magic wand to select the white. Okay, problem is it's selected the picture white as well. That's a big problem. Okay, put continue, see if that helps. It does on this part, but it doesn't on this part. Okay, so what I'm going to do is roughly deselect some parts of this image. Luckily it's not a lot, so we can deselect this. Okay, so it's missed out the white part of the picture, and so, okay, also select this part of the picture. Okay, so we've got a white selected. What I'm going to do is inverse it and then choose the background colour and fill. So, okay, what that's doing is it's actually selecting your torn paper, like so. It's also allowing the next process. The big problem is when you do this next effect, you can't do it on just a solid white border. You have to have two colours next to each other, which is a little bit annoying, but it's the only way it can do it, because what it's doing is it's blending two variations in the colour. And what we're going to do is use a filter. It's under artistic. It's not under artistic, it's under sketch. Okay, and it's called torn edges. Okay, we've already created a torn edge, but the thing is it's going to be an additional torn edge effect. Okay, and what we'll see is when we apply this, is it's going to create the fuzziness that we need to make it look like real paper. Okay, just wait for my filter palette to appear. Okay, what we're going to do is move to here, and you're seeing the effect it's doing. For some reason I think I haven't deselected the marquee. Unless it's because it's on contrast. What we have to do is mess around with the options. I'm going to move down to the actual tear so we can see more closely what we want to actually achieve with the tear. You notice if you change these, it gets more ragged and more, less contrast. What we want to do is get as much solidness in the actual ripping area, and I tend to find it starts happening when you start seeing little other dots appearing in the rest of your picture, like there. You see it's just kind of like solid edging. Okay, so once you're happy with that, you can press OK. That's actually the shape of the mask that we created. Okay, doesn't matter, we can adjust this later. So once we're happy, just press OK. Yeah. And what we can do now is literally choose the colours again, black, and then just make it into a white version, which is simply just changing the colours. If we zoom in now, what you'll notice, is we have this kind of roofing effect around the edge of the edge of the paper, which is a little bit better than what it was before. Okay, so now we're going to get rid of your background colour, just to show you the effect that we're going to get on the actual picture. We've still got some work to do on this, so don't worry. And if you zoom in, you can see it's got this rouging edge. Okay. You also notice it's got some blue in there and black. Okay. So what we've got to do is to select this, make the tolerance 32 like it should be. Yeah. Delete all the unnecessary pieces, the dark stuff. Like so. Okay. You can zoom out now, you notice, yeah, we've still got this torn paper effect. What we have though is we've got this torn effect all the way around the actual picture. You've got it here as well. So what we're going to do is literally crop out the bits we need. For instance, this is where your frame starts. We just need to move up to there, and then just literally go all the way down to the bottom side here, making sure your tear starts around here, because obviously it's got a straight edge on the frame. Zoom out. So around. Delete that. What you notice now is obviously we've got the straight edge back onto the picture, and we've still got a torn paper effect on the actual picture as well. Okay, so now to do it to the other side. So delete that. There we go. Okay, so what you'll notice is we've got a clean picture, but we do still have some of these artifacts appearing. Okay, so what we have to do is just to clean around. Let's put it back on brush. Okay, just clean around here, just get rid of anything that may not be necessary, because you want to try and keep it as clean as possible, the picture. Okay, like so, just to make sure everything's just the way you want it. Okay, so there's our torn paper. Okay, a little bit more real and naturalistic. Okay, if you want to, and you find out it looks a little bit raggedy, you can just give it a little bit of a soft Gaussian blur, right down the bottom scale, maybe 2 or 3. Yeah, what that's going to do, if I zoom in, is it's going to give that just a little tweak to it that makes it a little bit softer. Okay, press OK. That's your torn paper. Okay, what we're going to do now is apply the natural looking shadow. What I'm going to do to that is I'm going to skip the this layer, go back to my, remember this is on an extra layer. Yeah. What we're going to do is go to the photo layer, under the effects palette, I'm going to go to drop shadow. And all we're simply going to do is create a normal drop shadow. Okay, you just need to have it so it's going straight down on whichever angle you want it to. But bring out the distance a little bit and the spread, make it as soft as possible, like so. Depending on how deep you want the shadow to look. This all depends on the actual curve that you're going to have. Say for instance you want the edge to curl up at the corner, you want quite a deep shadow there to create this effect. Right, so for instance I'm going to say that. You can actually move it around by hand as well, you don't need to use these sliders. Okay, probably pull this back a little. You don't want it too much at the top here, you see. So you want to make it so you can't see it here, but see it somewhere here. It doesn't matter how much though. All this can be changed later. Because what I'm going to do is press OK to that. Okay. Actually, just one thing else. I don't like. What you'll notice is they have black as the the default colour. So what I'm going to do is get the background colour, just click it, and what it does, it automatically updates the process because it's on multiply. It makes a darker version of it. Okay, so press OK, and that's your shadow, but it just looks like a computerized shadow. It doesn't look real because, you know, if a picture was bent or torn or something, it may have curves to it. Okay, so what we need to do here on the effects palette is hold down your control key. You notice down here it says create layers. So we're going to create a layer of the shadow layer, and you notice it's here now. Okay, so we're going to select it. What I'm going to do is carefully, I'm just going to zoom in to do this. I'll do it to this section first to show you what I'm trying to do. I've got to try and avoid this gap here. Okay, I've got to try and go through that gap because I don't want to affect the other side of the shadow. So I'm just going to do that so I can see it. Like so. Move around. Like so. Okay, put that back up. All I need to do now is press Ctrl T to select that area and then right click, warp. Okay, what we can do now is just use all these different handles on our box to create the effect that it's actually more dimensional, the shadow. You can do it however way you want to. For instance, that could be very close to or underneath the other picture, and then this bit's going to be curving out and then raised like so. Once you've done that one, you just press OK, and it creates it. Obviously, what we want to do now is the opposite one. I'm going to try and follow this line again carefully. Go around the entire box, like so. Again, what we can do is that if you want to, which is just to do the control arrow keys after you've selected it. What it does is actually selects the objects instead of just a box around it. We can create the Control T again, warp, and this gives you a better control over your picture element. Like so. What I'm going to do here is grab this one. You can grab all these different elements, and I'm going to pull that so it's softer here and then it comes out here. But to make then this bit work better, I've got to pull this handle. You just got to play with it basically until you get what effect you need. Like so. I'm just going to eventually do another quick pull out here, dropping it down, pulling that right back in. Yeah, like so. And press enter. Okay. You may or may not want to readjust the actual opacity of these. That looks relatively okay, but the thing is, what you learn with shadows is the closer it gets to an object, the harder it is. So basically this has the same hardness all the way down it. So what we can do is change this slightly. If you go to the blur tool, just enlarge it, keep it on its default strength, 50%, okay? And just on the elements that are further away from the photograph, you just fuzz it a little bit, just rub it like so, and it gets slightly more blurry on those corners, like so. I don't know if you can see it exactly, but it does do it. Okay, and here as well, a little bit here, more here because it's further away, like so, here. Okay, and once you've done all this, you end up with a great looking photograph. It was the torn edge and a nice looking shadow. Okay, that's basically how you do this. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that one, and if there's anything else you need to know, just ask me. Okay.